Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm joined by Paul Ince. He's got a smile on his face. Reading is safe and Roy Keane's put him in his all-time Man United Premier League side. So life don't get much better than that, Paul, does it?
No, very, very pleasing, very pleasing. And as I said, I'm sitting here talking to you now under no pressure. Reading is safe. The boys have been absolutely fantastic for me. And fans are happy. And Keane's put me in his all-time 11, which is a bit of a surprise, really, when you think about people like Paul Scholes.
I'm sure. I'm stunned. I don't know what's wrong with him. How's he done that?
Yeah,
How have you made that?
I think, listen, Keane knows his football. He always has done, So, no, but it's funny though, just how these things kind of make news. You know what I mean? And when you, I was watching it the other night. Funny enough, I'm thinking Robson, Scholes has to be, But as we said before, he's played with people. He knows the players. And, the thing about Keane, he always mentioned about characters and leaders, people you can rely on week in and week out. And this is something that we've not seen at Man United for many years. So, listen, am I pleased to be in it? Yeah, great. Is it going to affect me if I wasn't? No, not really at all. But it's nice to get appreciation from one of the greatest players that, to ever play the game in midfield for United. So, yeah, it's a good day for me today. Good day.
I will go through that team in a minute, but in a little bit, I'll tell everyone what that team was and everyone can debate that in their own free will. But let's get into the here and now. Lots to talk about. You mentioned Lingard to me just before we started, so we'll start on that. But I've got a couple of questions I want to talk to you about. I mean, obviously, Keane and Carragher were talking about Rangnick's role on Monday Night Football, saying that it's a nonsense that he's going to be staying at the football club as a consultant. I really wanted to get your thoughts on this, Paul, straight away. Also, just on Nkunku, everybody, there's a lot about Nkunku. He's at Leipzig at the moment. As I said yesterday, United can do that deal. Leipzig connection with Rangnick, he can get that deal done for them. It's just whether United want to do that deal. That's the latest on that. But Ralf Rangnick is now the Austrian coach. Paul, you have been a coach. You've also played a lot of international football. Ralf Rangnick's not being asked to manage Man United and Austria. He's going to do a few hours a month as a consultant on transfers. His expertise is building clubs. That's what he did for the Red Bull Group at Leipzig and Salzburg. He's got a vast knowledge and network of, relationships with agents and players, etc. I was quite surprised that people think he should just leave now because Ten Hag's coming into that job. That board's not been great at signing players. You've got someone who's really knowledgeable. He's got good relationships with people like Nkunku. It's only a few hours. It's only a few hours a month as a national coach and as you've played national team football. Yeah. It doesn't really. And Austria not in the World Cup either, so he's not really going to be doing anything for the first 7 or 8 months other than playing friendlies. Surely he can do both in the short term.
Well, I think first and foremost, we're talking about a club for the last 8-9 years, who have fallen behind the likes of Liverpool and City, Chelsea, even Arsenal to a certain degree. And there's a lot of work to be done at Old Trafford. We've seen that. And I think if you're getting put into that job as a consultancy, then I think it's a full-time job. We're not talking about him going into a club like Liverpool where it's already set. It knows its principles. It knows its projects. They know their strategy. Or Manchester City. We're talking about a big rebuild here. We're talking about trying to close a gap on the team, and we're talking about it could take 3 or 4 years to do that. So for me, it's all hands to the pump. I don't think you can come away from a job that important. And you might say they're not in the World Cup, but as an international manager, and you sit with Gareth Southgate, he's at more or less every game in the Premier League watching players. Players that have informed players of, you might be selecting for the World Cup. Now, listen, Austria are not in the World Cup, but there's not to say that they could be in the European Championships in 2 years' time. So as an international manager, you're all over the country, you're all over the world because we don't know where these Austrian players are playing. Some might be in Italy, some might be in France, some might be in Spain. You know, so I think an international manager, you're always out looking at games, the players that you pay for your country. So, as well as you say, well, it's only friendlies, and it's not really going to be a busy schedule. If I was manager of Austria, I'll be saying, right, who's my squad? Where are they playing? Who they're playing next? Yes, it's the close season. I get that, and they're not in the World Cup. But come next year, once the World Cup's finished, there's going to be European qualifiers that he's got to go and watch. And I just feel that the building process at Man United is so big and so important to get it right, that it's going to be hard for him to do both jobs. And I'm not sure when this came about. It was a surprise when I saw it. I'm not sure this was in the pipeline, or it was a done deal and he was just waiting to get Ten Hag in, and then he was going to announce it to the world, which he has done. But I think it raised a few eyebrows in the fact that the importance of the job at Man United. As we spoke about for the last this season, the academy, transfers, players, staff, style of football. You said he's built clubs, where he's been. I'm not sure we can build a club by having a focus also on the national team and going to watch, your Austrian players, because I'm sure the Austrian FA will want to make sure that he does his job properly. So whether is it a conflict of interest, I don't know, but I just think it's a strange one for him to take.
I suppose it's a failing on United's part, because whether he takes the Austrian job or not, he's only got a few hours a month or a week. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I could see where they were coming from on Monday Night Football as well. But I suppose the problem with it is not Rangnick necessarily taking the Austrian job. Whether he takes the Austrian job or not, he's still only doing 4 hours a week, isn't he? So, he's still got 35 hours a week where he's not being paid to do work. Now, unless you want to work for nothing. I mean, ultimately, United probably should have made that job full-time. Then we wouldn't have this problem, because it is a full-time job from what you're saying.
Well, it is a full-time job. And, even when Ralph came in and took the interim manager's job, they said, listen, once it's done, he's going to be a consultancy for the club. And you just said it, he's built these clubs, he knows his contacts, he knows his agents, he knows all the players that he wants. That's not 4 hours job. This is like a 24-hour job. I'm a manager now at Reading, and for me, it's a 24-hour job. You're always thinking, even now at this time of the season, it's coming to an end, but I'm thinking about, right, if I stay at Reading, what players can I get? Who's their agents? What deals are on? What can I offer them? All these type of things. So when you think about consultancies, what exactly is he consulting? What exactly is he doing? Because again, it's the Glazers allowing someone, who's meant to be the forefront of their club, to turn this club around as an appointing the manager, the Fletcher and the director, and building this club back to where it should be, just in the limited hours at one of the biggest clubs in the world. So we can go and manage Austria. It just don't make sense. It really, really doesn't.
I think the problem is by design. I personally think that because we don't have the clarity on what the job is, it leaves that room where people can say it doesn't make any sense, it shouldn't work. I mean, if it's 6 hours a week, that's not even a full day a week. What are you doing with those 6 hours? If people are ringing him up and saying, we'd like this player, have you got any contacts with him? Yes, I have. I'll make a phone call for you. I've done the introduction. That probably takes an hour. You leave it. If you've got to wine and dine the player and convince them to come, like you say, that's more than 6 hours a week. So look, I think he's a massive part of this summer for United, because I don't trust the Fletchers and the Merters, and I think he's got a lot of experience, and he also knows a lot about that squad, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think the clarity of the job is the thing that's causing issues. But I would keep him involved. I want to talk about the Ten Hag and the ruthless nature that he's going to have to bring into the club. And obviously, as a manager that's done well, we just had someone saying there that, at Reading, it's great to see the character that you've brought into the team. And you've mentioned that a few times when you've been on the shows before. But one decision that caused a lot of debate, and we were talking about it just before the show, was that Jesse Lingard didn't get his goodbye 10 minutes on Monday night. I mean, I personally think he'll probably start against Palace or Brighton and he can say goodbye to the away fans. But What do you think about that? His brother obviously wasn't very happy. I don't think Jesse's very happy. Should he have got a send off at Old Trafford?
You know what? For me, and I'm putting myself in Jesse's shoes, and if it was me, I won't be bothered either way. It wouldn't matter to me. As I said, as much as there was probably nothing.
Well, you didn't get one, did you? Mark Hughes didn't get one. Did
No.
Kanchelskis get one?
And it's kind of pathetic. I mean, it is pathetic. And it's just
plenty of legends haven't had them, have they?
Yeah, but Jesse's not a legend. But
no, that's what I mean. There's better players. There's a huge list of players better than Lingard who never had a send off.
I think the fact that obviously that Matic played and Mata played and they got their send off and he didn't. I'm not sure whether Ralph played those two just to give him a send off. I think he felt they could benefit the team. And to be fair, Mata was fantastic the other night. Really, really was. But he's always been a true professional. He's always, whether he's played or not played, he's been a prime example to what a professional footballer should be and should act like. And when he's called upon, he performs like the way that he did. So, as I said, it's not a game where you say, right, I need to all the players that are going, I need to give them a send off, I need to get them on the pitch. I can see where Jesse's coming from, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And as I said last time we spoke about Jesse Lingard, he had an opportunity to go to somewhere else after he spent at West Ham. And to be fair to the lad, Ollie said to him, listen, you're part of the first team, you're going to get some minutes on the pitch, and force him to stay. That was probably the biggest mistake for Jesse Lingard, where he should have just packed his bags and gone, and played elsewhere. And he spent the last, God knows how long, 4 months sitting on the bench, not being involved. So, it's not a big deal. He walks around the pitch after the game, waves to the fans. That's your farewell. You don't necessarily have to be on the pitch and play the last 10 minutes to say farewell to the fans. It's the last home game, walk along the pitch like everybody else and say bye-bye. But I still feel that he should have gone at the time he should have gone when he was playing well for West Ham. I honestly believe that. I said that to you. In fact, maybe he got hoodwinked into staying, thinking he was going to be part of Ollie's plans at the time. And he wasn't, and that's the decision that he made. And and as we've seen, he's not played many minutes for Man United since then. So throw your toys out the pram. It's pathetic, really. You walk around the pitch, you say your farewell like everybody else does, whether you play or you don't play.
I just said yesterday, I think this is the problem with United this season. There's too many selfish personalities there. We wake up after probably one of United's better performances of the season. I thought Juan Mata was superb. And no one's talking about Juan Mata. Everyone's talking about Jesse Lingard not getting to have a 5-minute send-off in a season where he's not been very good. It's just typical United. It's too much about promotion and, self-gratification, I suppose, than it is about quality of football. I thought Mata made a massive difference on Monday night. We should have been talking to him on Tuesday and not Jesse Lingard's brother moaning about the past. As I say, there's plenty of better players than Jesse who never got a send-off. So, I agree with you. I think it's a bit of a nothing.
Why do you need a send-off? What's so important about having a send-off? Yeah, I know he's been there for a long, long time. But there's no entitlement for him to have a send-off. It's no big deal. And I don't know why people are making such a fuss about it, or his brother's making a fuss about it. But it's absolutely pathetic. And that can kind of really determine what type of person you are when you're, whinging about, I didn't get a send off, I didn't get on for the last 10 minutes, and he played Matic, and Cavani came on, and I didn't come on. Yeah, grow up. Just think about where you're going to go next. Just think about what club you're going to go to next. How you're going to take your career forward. And show what a good player you are, because he showed at West Ham what a good player he is. Don't focus on things that no one's really bothered about. It sounds really childish. And Jesse's better than that. He needs to start focusing where he's going to go and where he's going to take his career next. Because he's a very good player.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's this need for, why do you need a send off? It's this need from some modern players for this constant approval. of, oh, look, there's, look at Lingard, he's been here for ages, all the best, mate. And we're coming off the worst ever Premier League season for a Man United team. I mean, it just doesn't land right, does it? When people are moaning about not getting a send off after the worst season, and like you say, people just need to move on and build their careers. If you want to be remembered as a good United player, you'll be remembered. These fans will remember, as you know, you see it yourself. I mean, you left, and you still get it when you, as you've said to me many a time, whether you're in London or Manchester or whatever, you'll get United fans coming up and appreciating you. You didn't get a send off, you didn't get a lap of honour or anything like that. United fans will know when they see Lingard in the street, and I'm sure they'll be, I remember your FA Cup final performance, whatever. You don't need that verification.
No, you don't. No, you're absolutely spot on. And listen, the United fans are they're proper football people. And they have appreciation of someone who's been there for a long period of time, and Jess has been one of those players, like they would with Roy Keane or Giggs or people like that. So you don't want this. I probably get more pleasure or satisfaction when I'm walking down Manchester, when I'm walking down Deansgate, and United fan comes and I went to you, brilliant. Thanks for being, that's nice. I don't need to walk around the pitch and have 80,000 fans. Saying bye Paul Ince, or I don't need that, and Jesse doesn't need that neither. So to make a kind of issue about it, don't make sense to me. It really doesn't.
Moving it on, Erik ten Hag will be the new manager. I want to go through some players. Not want to talk Jesse or Pogba. We know they're going to go. I just want to speak to you about 5 or 6 players. Maybe not sell them this summer, but what you think their future is at United. But first, before we do that, I think many people feel that there's a need to be ruthless this summer by Erik ten Hag. It's been Man United's worst ever Premier League season, as we know. And obviously, he has got Ralf Rangnick, who's been there for the last 5 months. He's had these issues with certain players. He's had his own issues. He said he's there to be used by Erik ten Hag if he wants that conversation. If you're walking into Man United and you're Erik ten Hag, what? I suppose there's a few strands to this, but the first question would be, what are you doing as a manager? Are you sitting down with Ralf Rangnick and are you taking notes on players and things he's tried? Or are you walking in there and going, no, don't really want to know what you've got to say. I'll speak to the players. I'll give them all a second chance. It's my thing. Is it important to go in there and give everyone a fresh start? Or do you think you've actually got to utilise the Fletchers and the Rangnicks and everyone who knows that squad? And does that help you hit the ground running better? How would you do it? How do you think you will do it?
Yeah, listen, I think as a manager, even when I came into Reading, and you have a staff meeting, you speak to the staff, they know the players better than what I did. They have a better view and an understanding and what it takes, to get these players to perform the way you want to. And sometimes, we mentioned that you've got to put your arm around the shoulder. He's a bit fragile. He's one who you need to keep on at, to get him to perform. So you kind of get a dossier of how to approach it when you walk in the first day of training. And I think Ten Hag would do exactly the same with Fletcher. Not so much. It's difficult because with players, you don't see the players in the change room from day to day. From Monday to Friday, that's their private sanctuary. That's where they go. We don't know what goes on from Monday to Friday. The only time you see the players is on a Saturday in the change room. So you can only have your opinion on what you see at half time or before the game or after the game. As a manager, I don't walk into the players' change room on the Monday to Friday to see what's going on, to see what characters are like. That's nothing to do with me. And obviously that's where players speak the most. That's where they talk about whether they're not playing or whether they're training shit or whether they don't like the manager or we need to be doing this, we need to be doing that. But I think what he needs to do, he needs to form and I'm not telling him how to manage, but I think the most important thing for me as a manager, and I've always done it, is to form a committee. 3 players, the leaders of the group, the ones who the rest of the players follow, the ones who the players go to moan or ask this or do that. So I think he needs to form a committee, whether it's Ronaldo and Maguire or Fernandes or a younger one like McTominay, and sit them down because they'll have the best understanding of the players, not Ralph Rangnick, because they're with the players 24/7. So, you know, McTominay, people like that, Maguire, they will know what happens. Excuse me, in the change room Monday to Friday. So sit down. Let's have a chat about it. What's good? What's not good? What can we do better? How can we improve on this? How can we improve on the culture? There's a lot of stuff about fragmentation in the changing rooms. You know, what's the issue? Can we bring this all together before the start of the season next year? So we're all as one, and we've all got one common goal. You know, that type of stuff. Who's a bad egg? Who's not a bad egg? Who's the one who zaps energy out the team or energy out the players? Who's the ones who don't train well? You know, who's the ones who need to rock up their arse? Who's the one we should go? All these type of things. You have those with the committee members. You know, discipline. People are late. You make sure you jump on it. You know, basically, you're my eyes and ears to a certain extent in the change room. If there's a problem, you come to me. And that's the most important, because players will speak in the change room. And, you know, there's a lot of players who won't be playing. There's a lot of players who think they should be playing, but don't get in the side. You know, they're going into the change room and they're moaning and whinging. And there'll be 3 or 4 who are not in the side in the team who are not playing week in and week out. And then they have a little group and they say, well, I should be playing. Why is he playing? He ain't good enough. Leaders have to control that. And that's so important.
How do you figure that out, though, at United? And it is a minefield, you know. Scholesy was saying the other day that Jesse said that the dressing room's a disaster. Maybe that's why Jesse hasn't played since. You know, Harry Maguire seems to be quite close to people like Rashford and Henderson, who clearly haven't been happy with playing. You know, we've heard that Maguire and Ronaldo don't see eye to eye necessarily. We don't know whether that's just rumour or not. I suppose that's the problem. I agree with you. I think you need to have those ambassadors or that, you know, your lieutenants, whatever you want to call them. But if you pick the wrong ones, that's the problem, isn't it? Because, you know, Maguire might seem like he's the captain and everything like that. But if he's mates with the people who've been causing the problems, is he going to be loyal to those mates, or is he going to be loyal to a new manager he doesn't know from Adam? And that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the minefield at United. You've got to try and figure out who's going to be loyal to you early on. And that's the problem I think Rangnick's had. It's certainly the problem that Ollie had.
Listen, Mark, you know, and this is today's football. It's today's footballers. You know, Roy Keane mentioned the other day on Sky that, you know, he didn't really go to dinner with Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah.
You know, get on with Peter Schmeichel, but he respected him, and he was the best keeper ever to play for Man United. And when he went out on that pitch, they played as one. You know, there was no like, oh well, you know, I'm not going to do this because I don't like Peter Schmeichel, X, Y, and Z. Teddy didn't get on with Andy Cole, but they scored goals. You know, and it was one common goal. So,
but that mentality doesn't exist at United anymore. We've seen it, haven't we? We've seen people not get on and not try for the shirt.
But it needs to, and this is where, if there's any, if there's any situation where we say Maguire doesn't get on with Ronaldo, they're the biggest 2 leaders at the club, captain, and obviously one of the best players in the world. So if there's a difference in opinion, why do they not get on? If that's the case, allegedly, why do they not get on? Well, for what we, you know, bring it to the table. You know, if I'm a manager, I'm saying, well, from what I'm reading, you 2 don't get on. What's the problem? What's the issue? Let's have it out here now, the 2 of you, and then when we leave that office, we go as one. All right, and if they agree to that, then it's fine. You haven't got to go to dinner every week with them, but you control the change room, you control the dressing room, make sure everything that comes out is positive. Not Jesse coming out, so Scholesy said, and saying about the change room's this, the change room's that, and people coming out saying, oh, this and that, and people going to the hierarchy and saying, oh, this is crap, we want this manager, X, Y. That all needs to stop next season, and someone has to control the change room. Brian Robson did it when I was there, Steve Bruce, you know, Mark Hughes. You never dare go and to the hierarchy and say this is happening in the training ground and he doesn't get on with him and he doesn't get on with him. It's like being at school. You know, as I said, that we got on with it. I got on with everybody at Old Trafford. You know, I didn't dislike anybody, but if I did, it wouldn't change the fact that when I go on that pitch, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for the fans. I'm doing it for Man United. I'm doing it for everybody to win honours. You know, I would never let the fact that I don't get on with someone affect the whole performance of the team. And spirit is the most important thing. It really is. You can be so talented, but if you haven't got the spirit and the camaraderie and the togetherness, you're going to fall. You're going to fall short. And this is what we're seeing at Old Trafford. This is what we're seeing at Manchester United in the performances. And yeah, listen, Brentford were safe. You know, it was a nice game for them. You know, it was like an end of the season game, like we played against West Brom. It was an end of the season game. So I'm not getting fooled by that. There's deeper root problems at the club, and Ten Hag has to sort that out, and he has to sort it out with the leaders who are going to be there next year to control that change in the way it should be controlled.
Do you think it can be turned around, Paul? I mean, I don't know whether you've ever been in that situation, but we have got a dressing room that's probably the worst. You know, I've spoken to a few people. You've probably heard bits. We've seen it. We don't even need to say we've spoken to people. It's all over the media. Everybody sees it. It's probably the worst dressing room United have ever had. It's the worst team we've ever had, points total wise. Is it possible to end a season like that with that many issues, change the manager, and the whole thing changes? Or in your experience, do you think, no, a certain amount of players have got to come out of there and some new players need to come in to change that? You're never going to turn a dressing room or a team around like that, because the minute you get a bad result next season, it'll all fall apart again.
Yeah, you're right. And it depends on what culture it wants to bring to the club, what demands and standards. And it's funny though, because obviously apart from the ones who are out of contract, who are already going, like Pogba and Jesse and Mata and Matic, there's still going to be a lot of players there on contracts. So it might be a case of, listen, I've got to give these players a chance. Yeah, I've spoken to Ralph. Yeah, he's given me a heads up on what to look for and who's this and who's that and how they act. I get that, but ultimately I've got to judge for myself. You know, Ralph might say that he's a problem, but then I see him myself and I think, well, he's not really a problem. He's just got a few issues that we don't know about. You know, that's what it's not just about football; it's about off the field. You know, I've had players who have been, don't speak, they sulk, and I think, no, what's wrong with him? Don't train well, don't play well, and then I found out that he had a problem off the pitch. You know what I mean? So where he got some girl pregnant, and and it was an issue for him. That's why he was. So you can't just look at it from a playing point of view. As a manager, you've got to go deeper. So Alex Wilshere, when he bought a player, he said, I'll find out about not just the player, his character, his background, where he come from, how he's been brought up. He always did that. And, and I think with Ten Hag coming in, he's got to look at the players, how he sees fit. Yes, he'll speak to Ralph, but he's got to have that own judgment himself. And I think you probably won't see anything really happening until maybe the next transfer window, not the early one, but the one in January, because then he'll have 3 or 4 months with these players, with these teams, and they go, no, he's not good for me. He's not good. I need to bring him in, change the culture, that type of stuff. The siege mentality, so to speak. Because Man United's the biggest club in the world, and a lot of people like to see Man United fail. It's big news. Whether they win, it's back page. Whether they lose, if they lose, it's back page. Because Man United are that big. So it's a massive cultural change. It could take 2 or 3 years to get the players that he wants in there to set the standards, and he won't find that out until probably January.
I agree. I think there'll be a certain amount of players coming in just before people panic in the chat. But I totally agree with you about outgoings. I think you're going to get 4 or 5 who go because they're out of contract. Your Pogbas, your Cavani's. You'll get 3, 4, maybe 5 who will leave because they've not been playing. Your Eric Bays, your Phil Jones, people like that. But the Wan-Bissakas, we'll talk about Rashford in a minute. Those sort of players, I think he's going to have to take 4 or 5 months, maybe a season, to have a look and see if he can turn them around. And if he can't, he'll let them go. We'll go through some of those players, Paul. I mean, how important is Cristiano Ronaldo? I mean, he's been up and down. Well, the media have been up and down on him this year. He's the problem. He's not the problem. The fact is, he's playing in a dreadful United side. He scored 18 Premier League goals. He's only 4 off Mo Salah, who's playing in one of the world's greatest sides. I mean, I don't know how he's managed to do that. How important is Ronaldo if you're Ten Hag next year? Obviously leadership, but if he can score 18 goals in that United side and Ten Hag's an attacking coach, I mean, is he a player that you'd move on at 37, or is he really important for next year at United?
Listen, I think the bottom line is, and we said this at the start of the season, that people were moaning with the way the team plays, they need to press up high and all that, and Ronaldo can't do that because of his age. And we said, listen, he didn't do it at Real Madrid. He didn't do it at Juventus. He's an out-and-out goal scorer. You give him chances, he will score goals. Messi doesn't press. People don't say a word about that. And he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I said to you, if it wasn't for him, they'd be in the probably bottom half of the table. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have got to the Champions League stage that they got to. Everything that United have been good at has come through Cristiano Ronaldo. And yeah, listen, he's had his up and downs as far as throwing his toys at the Pam and storming down the tunnel and being petulant at times, and that's something that he needs to look at. If he's going to be there next year, as a leader, listen, we don't know if how Maguire's going to be playing next year. If he's not, then you think Cristiano will be the captain. So yeah, he has to set himself an example to everybody else. And some of the things that he's done this year, if I was a manager, I'd say, well, you wouldn't be my captain on the basis of what you did. But as far as what you're doing on the pitch, he's been absolutely sensational. He really, really has. And it just shows where we are. We're relying on someone who's 37. We're not talking about 27. We're talking about someone who's 37.
Yeah, look at the amount of games he's missed compared to your Sanchos and your Varans in their 20s.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been phenomenal. And you can't take it away from him. And people always try to criticise Ronaldo because he's as great as he is. But are we relying on someone who's going to be 38 next year to close the gap on these big teams? If we are, then that's the problem, isn't it? Why maybe there's Haaland out there, there's other strikers we can go and get, but if he's there next year, then he has to play, and he's shown that he's still fit as anything. I mean, I'm not seen him work as hard, the last few games. Honestly, he's been amazing, and he's a goal scorer. And you give him chances, you get the ball to his feet, he will score you goals. And he'll do the same next year. He'll do the same next year. He's a natural, he looks after himself. And the example is to his players is that if you look after yourself off the pitch, you're not going to play like Cristiano Ronaldo, but the longevity of your football career could be a lot longer. So to do what he's doing, in the Premier League, which is a demanding league, is unbelievable. And he's got another year left. So if I'm Ten Hag, you keep him. But Ten Hag might be thinking about the future. You might want to bring a striker in. Is Cristiano going to get the games that he wants to get? We saw when he didn't play against Chelsea, he wasn't happy. Games like that, the big games he wants to play in. Against Burnley, he didn't play. So, at his age, he wants to play every game. And whether that's going to be the luxury next year, if Ten Hag brings another striker in, I don't know. So there could be issues there. So I think Ten Hag has to sit down with Cristiano Ronaldo and say, listen, I'm bringing a striker in, I'm looking to bring a striker in, but you will be playing a certain amount of games, and some games you'll be rested. That situation, and see what he gets from Cristiano Ronaldo. He might say, listen, that's not for me. I need to be playing at my age every week, so I might go and play for PSG or something else. So it's a conversation to be had with Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think if you look back on the season, I think he's been sensational.
From one contrast to another, and there's a very big age gap, and for me, there's not really an excuse for one having an amazing season and one having a abysmal season. I don't know whether you saw the Chelsea game, but that probably was the cherry on the cake for Rashford's worst performance of the season, and there's been loads. Well, I've said don't sell Rashford because I still believe there's a player there, but I can't defend some of his performances this season have been. I mean, if I hadn't seen him 2 years ago play well, I'd say I don't even know what the hype's all about. He's been terrible. What do you do with someone like Rashford? He's really struggled this year, and it's not injury, it's not lack of opportunity. It's just odd, very, very odd.
Listen, I think he's not a kid no more. That's I think there's a lack of confidence with Marcus Rashford.
He's 25 this year.
Right. So, he's been at the club, all his life. So, you're right. I remember seeing Rashford come off the left against Liverpool at Old Trafford and scoring a couple of goals, and I thought, wow, this kid's going to go places. Just the way I thought Dele Alli would do the same when he left Craig Johnson to go to Tottenham. And somewhere down that line, whether they've kind of got, I don't know, overconfident. You know,
I think you made it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, listen, we've seen the off the field stuff that he does, and he's been brilliant. You know, and it's great. You know, it's been great what he's done. But you can't take you off the ball. I'm sorry, as much as the stuff that you've done off the pitch has been fantastic, and you know, you get your OBE or whatever's on the back of it, you can't take your focus off the game. You are a footballer, first and foremost. And you know, I probably sense I see the same with Dele Alli when after the Tottenham, he took his eye off the ball. He thought he's made it. He started doing this, and you know, you think you're there, and you're not there, and it can come back and bite you in the arse. And you know, I sense with Marcus there's a lack of confidence at this moment of time. I really, really do. But we know that he's a very, very talented player. We know, but we need to see it, and we need to see it on a consistent basis. I don't know. Maybe it's the case of, you know, Marcus Rashford 2 years ago. Everybody was talking about Marcus Rashford 2 years ago. Now all of a sudden, it's Ronaldo and Fernandes, and it's like taking a back seat, so to speak, as far as the adulation. And you know, yeah, I think it's affecting him. He's had his injury. They've done his back in. It's been a stop-start season. Maybe he's playing in the right position that he wants to play. All these type of things are going through his head, but you keep him because he's a talented kid, and you know that, you know, he can come back from this. You know, listen, it's not the end of the world for him, but he's got to kind of think about, you know, football first. And you know, you see him and listen, with social media, and you know, football's have a platform to do what they want to do. You know, he's doing a Google advert, and they're great. I get that. You know, I mean, I understand that, but your focus has to be solely on football. That's the most important thing, not anything else. And he's in a situation now where he's got to prove to Ten Hag, you know, that he wants to be make United, and he wants to be in the first 11, because he will bring players in. He will have a philosophy. He will have a way of playing. Does Rashford fit into that way of playing? You'd probably like to think so, but he has to show that to Ten Hag. And if he doesn't, then he'll have to find somewhere else and go move somewhere else. But he's certainly talented. But you know,
everyone's different, aren't they, Paul? Everyone's different, isn't it? I was going to mention there, you know, Beckham, you played with him a little bit for England as well. Giggs, you played for a lot of him in his formative years. Some players can do the marketing work, play for England, play for Man United, and it doesn't impact them. Some players can't do it for England, let alone do it for Man United. And some players will say no to the marketing work and no to the interviews because their personality, I've got to focus. I've worked my arse off to play for United, and I know what it takes to play well for United, and my mind's got to be on United and nothing else. And unfortunately, I think you're right. I think it's a great point that, you know, you look at your Dele Allis and your Marcus Rashfords, and are they an example of, you know, great stuff being done off the pitch, but you take your eye off the ball, like you say, and oh look, your game suffered. And it's not a coincidence. You might think you can do both, but you can't. Look at your performances on the pitch. But you get all these marketing people, agents, family members saying, oh, we've got this for you, Marcus, we've got this for you. And you do it. And then you suddenly, why am I not playing well on the pitch? I'm training as hard, but it's almost a subconscious thing. You've took your eye off the ball. Your focus is drifted. You go back to just focusing on your football. I know you've got your pressure from your agent, but almost you need to go, look, if you at 25 as well, if he has another 2 years like the last 2 years, that's your career gone at 27. If you don't sort of turn this around now, he's got to look in the mirror, and he's got to look in the mirror and sort it out.
No, 100% right, 100% right. And I thinking from my point of view, if I wouldn't want to do any marketing stuff, I wouldn't be doing anything outside football unless I was performing well. Because you know, if you're not performing well and you're doing things off the pitch, people are going to say something. People are going to criticise you. You know, he's too bothered doing this off the pitch rather than actually performing on the pitch. So if I'm playing well consistently, not just 2-3 games, I'm playing well, then I can do that, and people can't say anything to me.
Yeah.
Because especially what I'm doing on the pitch. This is not the case with Marcus Rashford. You know, he looks like he looks down. He doesn't look his confident self. Now he might say, "Well, it's nothing to do with what I'm doing off the pitch." But as you said, subconsciously, he probably doesn't realise that. You know, when he's getting pulled from pillar to post, do this, do that, speak to so-and-so, do this, do that.
It's downtime as well, isn't it? If your day off, you're doing bloody Google adverts or whatever, or you could be sat at home watching a film, chilling out, you know, maybe analysing your game a bit. I don't know what footballers do in their spare time when they're relaxing, but, you know.
But listen, and I think, you know, next season, you know, at the start of the next season, he's got to say, listen, that's me done. Off the pitch, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to focus on my football. Got a new manager coming in. I'm excited about it. You know, I want to be part of what he's bringing to the club, bringing to the table. So that's what I'm focused on. No outside influences, no this, no that. And then when I get myself playing and get myself back in the team and playing what I'm playing, then I can go look at that type of stuff. But until then, it's solely fixated on getting in that Man United side. Because you're right, in 2 years' time, you wonder what can happen to Marcus Rashford. Yeah, listen, there will be always clubs that will take him because he's a very, very good player. But this is Marcus Rashford. He was playing for England week in. He was probably one or two first names on the team sheet for England. Yeah. You know, now he can't get the England side. That's Foden.
World Cup year as well.
Yeah, World Cup was Foden, it's Grealish, you know, Sancho. All these people ahead of him. Was before 2 years ago, it was a given to be in the 11. Now he's not. Now he's not even in that. You know, now he's not in the Man United side. So you've got to look back and take stock and think, something's not quite right. And what is it? And I need to address it. And I need to get myself back playing and enjoying football and doing what I do best, because on his day, he's a world-class player.
Paul, I've just realised the time, and I know you've got to get out on the training ground, but it's been a pleasure, as always, to have you on the show.
However, we've not mentioned Roy Keane.
Well, if you've got a couple of minutes, I'll do it.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, Roy Keane on Monday Night Football gave his Manchester United all-time Premier League 11. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. I think I remember what it was. Schmeichel in goal. Gary Neville right back. Stam, Pallister, Irwin. Beckham, Ince, Robson, Giggs, Rooney, Ronaldo.
Was that his team? Was I in it? I didn't realise. I didn't see it. Oh, I'm so pleased.
Yeah, so he had Irwin at left back, Gary Neville at right back, Stam and Pallister. Rio was fuming, apparently. And he had, obviously, yourself and Robson, so no Scholes. I don't think he could put himself in it. Beckham and Giggs, and then Ronaldo and Rooney up front. Would you? I mean, suppose Cantona could have had a mention there.
Yeah, I think Eric was. I would have put Eric in my team.
Surprised Keane didn't, because he played with him his whole United career as well.
Yeah, because Eric was probably, as I say, I wouldn't say the catalyst, but it was the final piece of the jigsaw for us winning the title. Maybe Eric wasn't there long enough, you know, for Keane to put him.
Well, Rooney and Ronaldo were exceptional as well, weren't they? You know, it's not like it's
not Ronaldo, and that's for sure. But it just shows you how many great players that Keane's played with, and you know, I personally want to put Paul Scholes in there.
I was going to say, how much did you pay him to put you in then? When did you find out he was doing that?
But you know what? And it's funny because Keane mentions about, you know, all these players. When he was putting these players in, he kept mentioning about characters, leaders. You know, it wasn't just about the talent that these players had. It was characters, leaders. You know, I'm glad I got him in my team, X, Y, and Z. And listen, Paul Scholes is world class, and you know, he was a completely different player to me. He really was. We know Paul Scholes can't tackle in midfield, but he can do everything else. But when you talk about people like Brian Robson, and you look at the team, you think, yeah, it's a team full of characters and leaders and men, you know, digging, you know. And I said before about the siege mentality that United haven't got. You know, that team did. So listen, Keane's one of the greatest players ever of all time, and so to be in the side, great. You know, if I wasn't in it, it wouldn't bother me. No big deal. It's not such an issue, you know. But I'd rather be in it than not in it. I'm sure if Keane would have picked himself, I would have been in it. But yeah, listen. Sometimes, you know, I had a fantastic career at United, and sometimes you don't get the plaudits that you should get. You know, I think if I'd have been there for as long as Scholes was at Keane, then it'd have been a different situation. But I think because of the fact that I left to go to Inter Milan, or I was sold, I must say, I didn't leave, I was sold to go into Milan. You don't really get the credit that you think you deserve as a player at Manchester United, and they all talk about Keane's goals and Robson and that. Even mentioned Nicky Butt and that, but it's just no big deal. I'm in it. I'm not. I can give a monkeys, to be fair, but yeah.
I think the interesting thing is that obviously Keane's picked that all-time Man United Premier League side on players that he played with, but I think the interesting thing is Keane left in 2006. Certainly post 2010, so 12 years, no one gets in anyway. Even if he played with them or not. I mean, Rooney and Ronaldo in the late noughties were very, very good, but there's nobody post 2010 that would get anywhere near that side. So it just shows you how crap United have been for over 10 years now. No one would get anywhere near. There's no one in the last 10 years that get anywhere near that.
And that's what Man United got to change. And listen, there won't be people, the young kids now, who won't remember the likes of Ince and Keane and Robson. And if you ask them to pick their best greatest 11, they'll probably have these players in it. But you ask the people who know football, you'll always go back to Robsons and Keanes and Giggs and Beckhams. 20 years, 30 years time, they might go back to, McTominay and Fernandez. You don't know, do you? It's just people's opinions, But if you looked at, the Manchester City team, and you think who could get into that Man United team, 94-95 season or 93-94 season, you'd just say De Bruyne definitely. Maybe Fernandinho could get in there. There's probably 4 or 5 players you think, yeah, he could get in there, he could get in there. And this is now.
Yeah.
United haven't got that, and that's what they need to change. They need to get back to having great players, because there's great players at Liverpool, there's great players at City. Now, we haven't got any great players apart from Ronaldo, who's now obviously coming to the end of his career. We haven't got any great players, and that's why when you see the team of the Premier League, season, there won't be I presume there won't be any Man United players in it. And if there was, it'd probably be Ronaldo or David Gea. And that just shows where United are at this moment of time.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you get back to your training, Paul. Big game on weekend. Obviously Luton.
Live on Sky, Marky. Make sure you watch it. 12:30 kickoff.
12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Reading against Luton. It's a big game for Luton. They need to beat Reading to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I might have a mention you on when I'm doing my interview. I might.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Anyway, it's well done for keeping Reading up. Well done for being in the Roy Keane's Premier League Man United side. And
well done for paying your charity bet, because Brentford have stayed up, and we'll be meeting very, very soon before I go away. Live.
Wait, where are you going away?
I can't say when I'm going away, because you never know who's listening to it. You know what I mean?
And what, holiday, is it? Or you're going away?
I'm going on holiday.
All right.
But I can't say when. But we'll be doing what we do on the live Mark Goldbridge live show. You handing over your money. I think it was £1,000, wasn't it? If I'm right.
500 quid, yeah.
No, £1,000. I think it was, wasn't it?
It was 500 quid.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll let you off.
I might knock it up anyway if it's a decent charity, but.
But we're doing it live.
I'll tell you what. We'll do double or quits. We'll have a. No, I won't. I'll pay the 500, but I might do a challenge where if I lose it to you, I'll knock it up to £1,000. You don't have to pay anything.
Okay, so what's the double or quits then?
I don't know. I'll probably beat you at most things. So,
snooker.
Yeah, I'm not. He's got a bloody snooker table in his house. I ain't playing him at that. Oh, bloody John Parrott there.
Tennis, anything. Darts.
Table tennis. I beat you at table tennis.
Darts.
No, I'm shit at darts.
Oh, am I? So let's do something that we're both shit at. So it's going to be a level playing field.
Yeah, but you'll go and get a dartboard from Amazon today, and then you'll be practicing for the next 2 weeks. We'll think of something and we'll film it anyway.
All right.
All right, mate. Well, have a good day. Thanks for popping on.
Have a great day. See you soon, mate. Take care.
Speak to you in a bit. Ta-ra.
All right, bye.
Yeah, I did lose that bet. To be honest, I'm not. Basically, I said we met up in twerk contest as Dylan. We met up in when we did driving with Goldbridge, and Thogden and Thogdad were there, and we were talking about Brentford, and they were all like living up the arse of Brentford. And I said, oh, they'll go down. It was in October time. And I looked like it was going to be right. And then they got Ericsson, and they've just been very, very good. So fair play, £500 of charity. Bang goes my summer holiday. Anyway, yeah, look, really good to chat with Incy. Some really good points there. I think the Rashford thing's very interesting. I'd never thought about it like that. Obviously, I've not been a professional footballer. So, you know, these fine margins, you know, you're playing at the highest level, and little drop-offs can be highlighted massively. And I think, yeah, you know, you mentioned Dele Alli as well. You take the eye off the ball. You know, there's things going on off the pitch that take your attention, and your you know, everything takes your attention. If you go and put the bins out and you're watching Ozark, you know, it takes your attention away for a little bit, doesn't it? You just want to watch Ozark, and maybe Rashford should just be playing football, but he gets a lot of people telling him to do this. He wants to do this, and he might think it's not taking his attention away, but it is. I mean, if I was Marcus Rashford, the one person I'd get in contact with is David Beckham. He is the original and best player I've ever seen that can deliver for England, deliver for Manchester United, and also deliver in the off-field activities that he enjoyed doing. But that doesn't mean it'll work for Rashford. Look, I'm not going to spend any more talking about Rashford. We spoke about him last night. I think Nkunku's a very interesting thing. Loads of people are putting forward ideas for me and Incy. We might have a game of darts or something, or we'll definitely film it. It'll be a good laugh. We'll do that. I think a drinking challenge. How many pints can you drink of water? But yes, yeah. In relation to Nkunku, early days, but keep an eye on Nkunku to Manchester United. As I said yesterday afternoon, Rangnick's got very good connections with Leipzig, and Nkunku is a player that Rangnick thinks would be good for United as his consultancy role. This is a deal that Rangnick can deliver to United that United aren't capable of doing themselves. So keep an eye on Nkunku. Obviously, if you're a member, we've got a video on him on the homepage you can check out, all about Nkunku, where we compare him to Bruno and just show you the differences and the similarities and what he could bring to the team. So check that if you're a member, but keep an eye out for Nkunku is what I would say at this moment in time. I wouldn't go as far as to say we're in advanced talks or it's going to happen. Anyone who says that's talking out their arse, but certainly it's a deal that if United and Ten Hag decide yes, I reckon Rangnick can get that deal done. There we go. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Back again at 2 o'clock and then 7 o'clock tonight because it's Real Madrid against City. We'll be doing that on That's Football. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care everyone. Really enjoyed the show this morning and we'll speak to you all in a little bit.